Good day, everyone. I am Julia Naive, and our topic for today was about learners with exceptionalities. So, at the end of this lesson, the learners are expected to describe the basic categories of exceptional learners. Second, define and distinguish the terms disability and handicap. And lastly, demonstrate people first language when referring to exceptional learners and advocate for its use. So, to start our discussion, let us first know the meaning of the term exceptional learners. Okay, so exceptional learners include those with special needs related to cognitive abilities, behavior, social functioning, physical and sensory impairments, emotional disturbances, and giftedness. Okay, so most of these learners require a lot of understanding and patience as well as special education and related services if they are to reach their full potential development. So let us now proceed on the next slide. Now you are now seeing the advanced organizer of the categories of exceptionalities, namely mental retardation, sensory impairment, physical disabilities and health impairments, autism, emotional and behavioral disorders, and lastly, learning disabilities. But before we discuss that one by one, we will first differentiate the term disability from handicap. Are they the same? So, a disability is a measurable impairment or limitation that interferes with a person's ability. For example, to walk, lift, hear, or learn. It may refer to a physical, sensory, or mental condition. Okay, so the word disability has become the more accepted term, having replaced the word handicap in federal laws in the US, one of which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or the IDEA. IDEA is the law that provides comprehensive service and support for exceptional learners. Our very own 1987 Philippine Constitution, Article 14, Section 2, that uses the word disabled in paragraph 5, which states provide adult citizens, the disabled, and out of school youth with training. Okay, now the word handicap does not have the same meaning as disability. A handicap is a disadvantage that occurs as a result of a disability or impairment. Two persons may have the same disability but not the same degree of being handicapped. For example, Peter and John have a hearing impairment. Peter knows language and can read lips while John cannot. That means Peter would not have as much handicap as John. Okay, so that is the difference between disability and handicap. Okay, let us now proceed on the categories of exceptionalities. Okay, so there are different ways of presenting categories of exceptionalities. Special education practitioners would have varying terms and categories. For this short introduction, we are basing it on the categories found in Omrod's Educational Psychology. So the first category is specific cognitive or academic difficulties. So under of it was learning disabilities. Learning disabilities involve difficulties in specific cognitive processes like perception, language, memory, or metacognition that are due to other disabilities like mental retardation, emotional or behavioral disorder, or sensory impairments. Examples of learning disabilities include dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. Okay, so what does dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia means? Okay, so when the child has dysgraphia, they have this difficulty in reading. For example, they have trouble sounding out words, they have difficulty memorizing sight words, and they avoid reading aloud. They are confused with the order of letters. They have trouble following a sequence of directions, and they have difficulty in organizing thoughts when speaking. Now, how about dysgraphia? Okay, so children with dysgraphia has difficulty with the physical act of writing. For example, they have tight, awkward pencil grip and body position, illegible handwriting, tiring quickly while writing. They also have high level of resistance and frustrations while writing, and they have large gap between written ideas and understanding demonstrated through speech. Okay, so next is dyscalculia. Children with dyscalculia has a wide range of lifelong learning disabilities involving math. For example, they have difficulty understanding concepts and completing word problems. They exhibit difficulty in using steps involved in math operations, and they are challenged in making change or handling money. Okay, so lastly, dyspraxia. Children with dyspraxia has brain-based condition affecting plain and coordinate physical movement. Okay, so they have poor balance, poor manipulative skills. They have difficulty in following a moving objects smoothly with eyes without moving head excessively. Okay, so they have the tendency to lose place while reading. Okay, so that is dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. Okay, so let us now proceed on the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or the ADHD, which is under the category of specific cognitive or academic difficulties. Okay, so ADHD is manifested in either or both of these. First is difficulty in focusing and maintaining attention, and second, recurrent hyperactive and impulsive behavior. Okay, so next is speech and communication disorder. Okay, so they have difficulty in spoken language, including voice disorders, inability to produce the sound correctly, stuttering, and they have difficulty in spoken language comprehension that significantly hamper classroom performance. Okay, so let us now proceed on the next category of exceptionality, which is the social or emotional and behavioral difficulties. Okay, so under of it was autism. Autism is a condition manifested by different levels of impaired of social interaction and communication, repetitive behaviors, and limited interests. Individuals with autism usually have an intense need for routine and a predictable environment. So next slide. Mental retardation. So mental retardation refers to significant sub-average intelligence and deficits in adaptive behavior. So there is difficulty in managing activities of daily living and in conducting themselves appropriately in social situations. Next is emotional or conductive disorders. Okay, so this involves the presence of emotional states like depression and aggression over a considerable amount of time that they notably disturb learning and performance in school. Okay, so the child may meet the criteria for conducting this disorder if they are engaging in several behaviors like bullying, physical aggression, cruelty toward people or animals, fire setting, breaking curfew, trespassing, and lying. Okay, so let us now proceed on the next, which is physical disabilities and health impairments. So this involves physical or medical condition, usually long term, including one or more of these. First, limited energy and strength. Second, reduced mental alertness and or little muscle control. So example of this was heart disease, hemophilia, asthma, cancer, AIDS, or any other chronic or acute health problems that limits strength, vitality, or alertness and adversely affects the student's educational development. So next is severe and multiple disabilities. So this refers to the presence of two or more different types of disability, at times at a profound level. The combination of disabilities makes it necessary to make specific adaptations and have more specialized educational programs. So example of this is the deaf-blind, meaning the child is visually impaired as well as hearing impaired. So next is visual impairments. Okay, so these are conditions when there is malfunction of the eye or optic nerves that prevent normal vision even with corrective lenses. And lastly, hearing impairments. This involves malfunction of the ear or auditory nerves that hinders perceptions of sound within the frequency range of normal speech. Let us now proceed on the last category of exceptionalities, which is the giftedness. So this involves a significantly high level of cognitive development. There is unusually high ability or aptitude in one or more of these aspects: intellectual ability, aptitude in academic subjects, creativity, visual or performing arts or leadership. Okay, so usually a gifted child is or has big vocabulary, has exceptional creativity, advanced reasoning skills, and so much more. Okay, and that's it for the categories of exceptionalities. Let us now move on the people first language. So what does this mean? So this language trend involves putting the person first, not the disability. For example, a person with disability, not a disabled person. Thus, people first language tells us what condition people have, not what they are. This is similar to saying a person with AIDS rather than AIDS victim. Other suggestions for referring to those with disabilities include avoiding generic labels. People with mental retardation is preferable to the mentally retarded. Emphasizing abilities, not limitations. For instance, uses a wheelchair is preferable to confined to a wheelchair. Next, avoiding euphemisms such as physically challenged, which are regarded as condescending and avoid the real issues that result from a disability, and avoiding implying illness or suffering, like, for example, had polio is preferable to is a polio victim, and has multiple sclerosis is preferable to suffers from multiple sclerosis. So, okay, and that is all for our discussion. A great big thank you for listening. I hope you learned something.